Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel and welcome to a new weekly reading vlog. So in today's video, I'm going to be reading fantasy romance books, hopefully finding some new favorites. I am also going to be reading a new release that I'm really excited about. I don't have an official TBR set, but I'm just going to be working my way through my July TBR because I have a lot of really amazing books that I'm super excited about on there. So let's talk about the book that I'm currently reading and what I think my next book is going to be as well. So right now I'm doing a reread of Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I read this at the end of last year and I wasn't obsessed. I was not super crazy about the plot. I think, I'm realizing I'm not into trials anymore. I think I'm just over it. Trials really worked for me in The Serpent and the Wings of Night, but in other books that I've read after that, I just don't care. I'm just not into it. I think particularly in this book, I just wasn't super engaged with that aspect of the plot. Also, when I read Trials of the Sun Queen, I believe that's what that book is called, by Nisha J. Tooley, same thing. I just wasn't super into it. So I think I'm over trials in general. But what I did enjoy about this book when I read it the first time was the ending. The ending of this book is good. Okay, I can't make the ending not good. It was very intriguing, so much so that I did want to pick up the next book in the series, Reckless, which came out a couple days ago. So I'm doing a reread of Powerless in order to be as fresh as possible for Reckless, and then I'm going to be picking up Reckless next. So I'm really looking forward to that. I have seen some of my friends who did not love Powerless reading Reckless and really enjoying it. So I'm hoping and manifesting that I will have the same experience, because with how this book ended, I definitely think that the second book in the series could be a little bit more my style. So I'm looking forward to reading it. If you don't know what Powerless is about, it is a YA fantasy romance and we follow Peyton and Kai. It is dual POV. Kai is the son of the king and he is also the enforcer. In the world that Peyton and Kai live in, a lot of people have magical powers, but if you don't have magical powers, you are considered an ordinary and you are either banished or executed. Our main character, Peyton, is living in the slums with her friend Adina, and she does not have powers. So she has to hide the fact that she doesn't have powers and is just trying to get by. When Kai and Peyton have a chance encounter, this ends up leading Peyton to have to take part in the trials that the king puts on every 5 years. It's very similar to Hunger Games, where all of these different people are selected to be in the trials. They have to battle it out. They need to win the hearts of the audience as well. And Peyton is of course very nervous about this because no one knows that she does not have a magical power, so she has to kind of fake it and make her way through these trials, all while very begrudgingly falling for Kai. So I am about 150 pages into my reread, and I'm liking Kai and Peyton more this time around. I'm finding their dynamic to be cute and very fun. I do like the banter. I definitely think that that is a strong point of this book. So as of right now, this is going pretty good. I'm still not like super obsessed with the plot, so I don't think this is going to turn out to be like a new all-time fave upon reread, but I am enjoying Kai and Peyton a little bit more. So I think I'm just going to be putting all of my energy into these characters and paying attention to their banter and dynamic, and hopefully getting this reread done fairly quickly. So that is where I am at with my first read. And then once I finish this, I will start Reckless. So today is Sunday. It's going to be a super fun day. I think right now I'm going to try to squeeze in a little bit more reading. I'm going to go sit out on the deck and continue reading Powerless. And then later today, I think we are going to go boating out on the lake, and I'm super excited because it's very nice out. So it's going to be a very fun day full of reading and being in the sun. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow once I have another reading update. Hello bestie queens, how are we doing? I hope you're having the most gorgeous day. We need to talk. We need to have a cheeky little chat because I have very exciting reading updates and I really want to get to what I'm currently reading and talk about that with you all. But first, let's discuss Powerless. So I finished my reread of Powerless the other day and I liked it more the second time around. I really did. I really feel like I understood Kai and Peyton more this time around. I got into them. I got into their banter more. I think they're super cute, and truly the star of this book is the romance. I like the way it was done. I think that there was fun tension between them and they were much more enjoyable this time around. I'm still not obsessed with the plot. I just, as I said earlier, I'm over trials and I just was not really moved by any of the plot lines in this book. It just didn't really work for me. So I didn't really connect on that front, but I connected more with Kai and Peyton on a reread. And I do think that this book, for what it is very fun. So I'm gonna give it 3 stars upon reread, and I'm happy that I reread it because I definitely feel more connected to the characters now. So after I finished Powerless, I of course picked up the recently released Reckless, and And you guys, this book is so good. It is so much better than Powerless already. I'm only like halfway through. It is so good. I am loving it. I truly cannot put it down. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I'm going to finish this book today. Like, I had to stop myself and film a check-in. Otherwise, I was going to have no like mid-book thoughts for you all, and I was just gonna finish it all in one sitting, which I do still intend to do, but I did just want to stop and say hello to the besties first and let you know my thoughts. This is just so much more fun and so much more what I am looking for from this story, and I'm loving it. I'm genuinely loving this book so much. I think it is so cute. I think it is so fun, so tension-filled. We have a lot of back and forth between Kai and Peyton, and we're just vibing in this book. Not a ton is happening. Like, if we look at the plot of Powerless and then we look at the plot of this, very different books, very different vibes, very different styles, but I connect with this much more. I feel like we're getting to know the characters a lot better, and I think that we are exploring Kai and Peyton's dynamic much more, and I think the way that Lauren Roberts is doing everything is just really fun. I particularly like that both Kai and Peyton have betrayed one another, and they're trying to find a way to move through that. Can they move beyond it? Can they accept that? What does that look like for them and how they interact with one another? I love that. I feel like a lot of times in fantasy romance, it's like one character betrays the other, but in this case, both of them have hurt each other, genuinely hurt each other, and they have reason to be upset with each other, and seeing them work through that, I think, is just absolutely gorgeous. So it is a sequel. I don't want to say much else, but I really like this. I think this is such a strong book. I think it's way better than Powerless. Feeling so many butterflies for these characters, and this book is just fun. It's just so enjoyable, so fun. I absolutely love the banter. The banter is on like 10,000 in this book. It was already very high in Powerless, but in this book, I think it's even better, and it just feels like such a step up from the first book. So I'm so happy that I reread Powerless, and I'm so happy that I decided to pick this up because I'm in on Kai and Peyton. I want to know how their story ends. I'm already excited for the third book, even though I haven't finished this yet, and I'm just really invested in them as characters now, and I just think the romance is done so well in this book. So I'm really happy with Reckless, so much so that I'm going to finish it right now. It's not that long of a book. I actually think it's shorter than Powerless, which I did not expect, but the audiobook is pretty short. I love the audiobook, by the way. Oh my god, the male narrator for Kai is so great, and I just love the combination of listening to the audiobook and then reading along. It just feels so immersive, so I am having the best time with this book, and I'm excited to see how it ends. I can already tell one of the things that is going to happen at the end of this book, which, like, question mark, but we'll see how that all plays out at the end. But there's still a lot of things that are unknown, and, you know, we're also getting little bits and pieces of other characters and their involvement, and I just think that there's a lot of unknown both for the reader and the characters. All that to say, this is going really well, and I'm gonna finish it right now, so I will talk to you guys once I am done with this book and give you my overall rating and thoughts. Hello, gorgeous bestie queens. How are we? I am so happy right now. I'm so excited to do this reading update because the books that I am reading are making me really happy. I'm really enjoying them. I feel like July is off to such a great start. I was cursed. I was in the trenches all of June with a bunch of 3-star reads, and so far July has been off to an absolutely gorgeous start, which brings me to Reckless. The last time we talked, I did end up right after filming, I just sat and read the rest of this book. So I finished this book in one sitting, which is really fantastic, and I loved it so much. I mean, you guys could see by my last check-in. I was having so much fun. I felt that the book was such a breath of fresh air compared to the first one, and I really love Kai and Peyton. I thought their chemistry, it was just off the charts in this book. I loved all the little adventures that they went on, the back and forth. It was just such a well done book, and even though I definitely could see the ending coming from a mile away, it was still fun. It was still exciting. I still felt very tense kind of before that moment and how it was going to play out. And oh my god, I cannot wait for book 3. It is going to be crazy. I don't know how we're going to wrap everything up because that is the finale and there's still quite a bit to do. And that conflict is going to be so delicious. I have all the faith in Lauren Roberts that she is going to make that such a fun, interesting, and stressful plot line. But overall, this book was so strong. I went with a 4-star rating. I don't quite feel the 5-star feels, and I think that could be attributed to sometimes there were some cheesy moments that made me cringe just just a tad, just a tiny little cheeky cringe, but it just didn't give me that 5-star feeling. But overall, it was very fun, and I'm really glad that I read it. It's a great YA fantasy romance, and I just enjoyed the writing and the plot so much more this time around too. So I'm so happy that I picked this up. I love when a book turns out unexpectedly really great, and that is definitely Reckless for me. And then the next book that I'm going to be reading in this vlog, I am already 44% of the way through, and that is Reign of Shadow and Endings by Melissa K. Rorick. This is the first book in the Legacy series. This is an adult fantasy romance series, and it is a dark adult fantasy romance series. So in this book, we are following Tessa and Theon. So how society is set up in this book is Legacy are descendants of gods, and Fae were basically created to serve the Legacy. So all Fae are assigned to different kingdoms to serve the Fae in one way or another, but a select few are chosen to be the source for the Legacy. And the Fae are told that this is the greatest honor. You will be tied to this legacy for all of your immortal lives. You provide them power and protection. You have a really close bond. You spend basically every waking second with them, and all Fae should strive for this. But a lot of the Fae know that that is not actually the case, and it takes away all of their agency. They have no choice, and if they are selected to be a Legacy's source, they cannot refuse. So our main character, her name is Tessa. She is a Fae, and she is so reckless and wild and has had definitely a very tough life. We don't know exactly all the details of her past at this point, but there are a lot of things that point to maybe some abuse and trauma that she has suffered. But she has basically flown under the radar her whole life growing up as a Fae. She doesn't believe that she will be selected as a source. She doesn't really have any powers that would make her seem attractive to a Legacy to be chosen. But right in the beginning of the book, we have the selection ceremony, and Theon, who is the heir of the Arius Kingdom, which is like the most dark and mysterious kingdom, ends up selecting her to be his source, and she is so confused and absolutely devastated. She has no idea why she is chosen, and she fights tooth and nail to not accept the bond, to get away from him. She tries to run away. She has a really hard time accepting this, which is totally understandable, but in the world, it's seen as a very negative thing that she is doing this, and her feistiness and recklessness gets her into some interesting situations. Theon really does want to bond with her. Theon definitely sees something in her that I think we, the reader, have not quite been made privy to, and he's also attracted to her as well, and he wants to go through with the ceremony, and then he will be able to trust her more. There is definitely an air of some secrets going on. Like, we, the reader, don't know what Theon has up his sleeve. Tessa doesn't as well. She doesn't trust him, but I think that there are much bigger plans kind of at play in the background and why Tessa was chosen, and Theon hasn't made us aware of those yet. So right now, they are kind of just trying to get along, but really verbally sparring with one another. Tessa is very defiant, and she feels very unsafe in his kingdom. His dad, who is also like, I don't know, like the leader, the main lord of the Arius Kingdom, is the worst. I hate this man. And he just creates a very toxic and terrible environment in the kingdom. So Tessa has to deal with him. And she's essentially trying to settle into this life that she wants absolutely nothing to do with. This book is set in a modern world. They have phones and cars, tablets. They have like AirPods listening to music. So that is a really cool element. It is dual POV. And we also have some very interesting side characters that I've met so far. I'm going to assume that eventually there are going to be more POVs, but right now we just have Theon and Tessa. But with the way that Melissa K. Rorick writes, I feel that the characters that we have met are eventually going to have their own POVs and chapters. So far, 44% of the way into this book, I am literally obsessed. I am obsessed with this book. It is giving 5-star vibes, okay? I feel so attached to this book already, so attached to these characters. This is such an interesting and unique fantasy romance. It is such an addicting story. There's so many things going on, so many interesting characters at play. And like I said, there's definitely this underlying plot line or mystery going on that we, the reader, don't know yet, but the little hints that we have received are so intriguing to me. I really like Tessa. She is, as I said, very reckless, but is just fighting the attraction she feels because she feels like she can't trust him. And then Theon is an interesting character. It's funny, at the beginning of this book, the author has like a guide of all the characters, and she says, Theon, probably not what you're expecting. And I agree with that, because sometimes I feel one way about him, and then other times I feel completely opposite about him. But I feel like the way that he's written is very interesting. I really don't know where I stand with him, and I like that. I think that he has a lot to offer so far as the assumed male lead in this series, so I'm looking forward to that. We also have his second in command named Luca, who is extremely broody, and I'm already in love with him. And then we also have his little brother Axel, who kind of seems to be a little bit more carefree and lighthearted, and he has been great as well. So I'm absolutely loving this book. The tension between Tessa and Theon is so good and so intense, and the overall just vibe of the book is very tense in a really fun way, because the Arius Kingdom is not the greatest place right now. The way that it's been presented to us, it's very stressful for Tessa. Theon is on edge for a lot of reasons in his own home. All of these side characters are kind of on edge and don't really know how things are gonna go, and there's just so much mystery surrounding each of these characters and what's actually going on in the background. It is just so good. I'm loving it. So this is going really well. I hope that the 5-star vibes continue. So that is it for now. I'm definitely gonna go read more of Reign of Shadow and Endings. I'm so excited to pick it back up, and I will definitely check in with you guys before I finish it and give you more thoughts. Hi besties, happy Thursday. So it has been a few days since I picked up the camera because I have a new obsession, a new object of my desire. It's truly a sickness. I'm not well. Love Island USA season 6. Oh my God. That is my new full-time job, is watching Love Island USA season 6. I am obsessed. Before I get into it, no spoilers at all. Please do not spoil anything in the comments for me. I'm not gonna say anything. I think I'm on like episode 18. I'm right at the part before Casa Amor. Just amazing television. Truly 10 out of 10. This is cinema. This is art. I know nothing else other than Love Island, and I have not read in like 3 or 4 days because I can't, because I have to watch Love Island USA season 6. That is my new job, and I have to do my job. So that has been taking up a lot of space in my brain. If you're contemplating watching it, do yourself a favor and watch it and live your absolute best life. It is so, so good. But this morning, I feel like I kind of got out of the fog of Love Island. I do still have so many more episodes to watch because there's like a million episodes per season, but I was like, okay, girl, we got to get back to this vlog. We need to start reading again. So this morning, I read quite a bit of Reign of Shadow and Endings, and you guys, this is so good. I am obsessed. Truly, right now, my brain is like Love Island season 6 USA and then Reign of Shadow and Endings by Melissa K. Rorick, like right there. This is so incredible. I am obsessed with it. I've never read a fantasy romance like this. It's so interesting. There are so many unexpected elements, and I'm just so in love with the world and where I believe the story is going, and such an interesting and different world compared to the Lady of Darkness series, even though they kind of exist in the same universe, just completely different. Totally took a left turn, and I'm eating it up. I will say, things are not going well in this book. Some really terrible things have happened, but I can see the vision. Now that I know how Melissa K. Rorick writes, I understand her character arcs and her plot arcs and things like that. I can see the vision. I can see where this series is gonna go, but currently there are some very not fun things going on. This is a dark fantasy romance. Please, please check the trigger warnings for this book before you pick it up. It's not your typical fae fantasy romance. There are dark elements in a lot of different aspects of this book, so please check those out before you start it. It might not be for you. I am personally loving the story. The characters are making me feel things, some good, some bad. I am down to ride the ride. I just feel like there's just so much to be had here, and the story feels so rich, so I'm really excited about it. Also, can we talk about Luca? I need more of him. I'm really hoping that we get his POV in future books. I've heard some things about his character, and I'm not going to say what they are, but I've heard some things that might happen, and that very much intrigues me. So I'm hoping we get to see more of Luca, hopefully. Also, loving the tech modern elements in this book. I think I talked about this last time, but they just come more and more into play as the book goes on, and it's been so much fun. I love the magic and fantasy woven with the modern tech. It's just so, so well done. I think we have ourselves a winner here, you guys. I do still need to finish the book. I'm at a very tense point right now, and I'm scared, but I'm excited. And truly, that is what I want to feel at the end of a fantasy romance book, right? We want to be a little scared. We want to be excited. I think there's going to be a really crazy cliffhanger, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what that is. But this is fantastic. Cannot recommend it enough. If you are a dark romance person, definitely, once again, please check trigger warnings. But I'm enjoying myself. I love the story. I see where things could go, and I'm really looking forward to it. So this is really great. I'm going to keep reading. I think I'm just going to finish this like probably in the next hour or so, and then I will give you guys my final thoughts on Reign of Shadow and Endings. Hi besties. So I finished Reign of Shadows and Endings and I am so obsessed. Oh my god. I loved this. The ending, excuse me, the epilogue. I am not okay. I had to read it a couple times to make sure that I was reading everything right. I am in love with this book. It was so fantastic. It was so cool. The world is so rich. I'm so here for this. I feel like the series is going to be incredible. I know I've only read the first book, but I am already getting like all-time favorite fantasy romance series from this first book because I can just see all these plot points being built. I can see these character arcs that we're gonna have, and I'm so excited about it. I love Melissa K. Rorick's writing. She is just incredible. What sets her apart is her attention to detail and is her obvious care for creating a fantasy world, creating interesting magic systems, creating lore, creating gods. Like, this is not just like a surface fae fantasy romance, which I love those types of books for sure. I've given many of them 5 stars, but this is like, she's creating worlds, you guys. Like, this is so big and so expansive and so incredible, and what a time to be alive, truly. I'm so happy that I'm alive at the same time as Melissa K. Rorick because I get to read her books. This was so cool and fun and crazy and not great at times. This was so well written. I'm so intrigued by so many characters. The political dynamics between all the different kingdoms are just like endlessly fascinating, and I'm sure we're gonna dive even deeper into that in the next few books. But this was a great start to a series, and I'm literally obsessed. I cannot say enough good things about this book. This was so great. This just makes me feel so good, and I love reading. Like, I obviously, okay, but you know when you read a book and you finish it and you're like, I love to read. Like, thank you, yes, confirmed. I love reading. It is my passion. This is that type of book for me. It just made me feel so much and breathed new life into me. It was fresh, it was interesting, it was dark, it was a little all over the place, but in the best way, and like, I'm so happy that I read this, and I'm just so obsessed. Oh my god. Needless to say, besties, you gotta read this. You really do. However, once again, this is a dark fantasy romance, and if that's not your thing, if that's not your vibe, totally fine. I actually did want to note that in the beginning of this book, the author has a little kind of like author's note, and she talks about the content warnings. Please read that if you are interested in reading this book. I am really bad and I always skip like author's notes in the beginning of books. I just go straight into the story, but I did end up reading the author's note before I started this, and I'm glad that I did, and I think that it gives the reader a good idea of what they're getting into, and I think that that just speaks a lot to Melissa K. Rorick. She cares about her readers. She wants people to be informed and make that choice for themselves, and I definitely recommend that if you're on the fence about wanting to read this. I'm not gonna read it like word for word, but basically she talks about, hey, this is a dark book. There are dark themes, and the society in this world is set up in such a way that legacy are there to rule, and the fae are there to serve the legacy. The gods created the fae for the sole purpose of serving the legacy. So there is that dynamic in this society. And is that good? No, it's not. But that is where we're starting. That is what the world is. I think it's important to know that. And the author also says, I can almost guarantee you are going to hate some of these characters, but she says, please trust the process. And most importantly, remember that this is a work of fiction, obviously. She doesn't condone some of the things that occur in this book in a real world setting, of course, but knowing Melissa K. Rorick's writing and her focus on strong, empowered female main characters, we are being set up for growth and arcs here. I think with all of our characters, I think we're gonna see a lot of change happen with everyone, but we're starting at a low point. And it's not all bad and all terrible, but there's definitely times while I was reading this book where I was really enjoying some things with their characters, and then I just was like dragged backwards. It was like, oh my god, like I can't believe they did that, or I can't believe that this happened between them. But it's a journey. I'm trusting the process, and I just loved the story and the world. So I did just want to say, check out the author's note in the beginning. She also goes into the trigger warning. It's a darker romance. It might not be for you. That is okay. But I did just want to give people a bit of a heads up that that is there, and just take care of yourself, do your research. And if you find yourself still intrigued, I think you'll really enjoy this book because I think it is literally incredible. All right, and then another point that I wanted to discuss, because I know that a lot of people are going to ask this, is can you read Reign of Shadows and Endings if you have not read the Lady of Darkness series? And the answer to that question is yes, you can. I totally think you can, and the author also makes a note in the author's note in this book that yes, you can read the Legacy series without reading Lady of Darkness. You do not, I think she like puts it in caps, you do not have to read Lady of Darkness to know what's going on. You will understand what's going on, you'll get it, you'll be good, you'll be totally fine. However, little asterisk there. Melissa K. Rorick has confirmed this like publicly on her Instagram, so this is not a spoiler. Her two series exist in the same universe, but they're totally different worlds. But that means that they share gods and magic systems, and there's vampires and fae and legacy, which are basically like deluxe fae, and shifters and all of that exist here, and those same type of creatures exist in Lady of Darkness. So there are those similarities, but in this book there are vague references to characters or beings or, you know, some things that occurred in the Lady of Darkness series. So the author puts it basically that if you haven't read the Lady of Darkness series and you pick this book up, you could potentially be spoiled for some things that happen in Lady of Darkness without even knowing that they're spoilers. Like, you're gonna read something and go, oh, that's cool. But if you've read Lady of Darkness, you know that, oh, they're talking about that character, or oh, they're talking about like that magic bond that was talked about in Lady of Darkness. So that is just one thing to be aware of. If you have both books on your TBR, if you're like, I want to read the Lady of Darkness series and I want to read this, I recommend just reading Lady of Darkness first and then pick this up after. But if you don't want to read the Lady of Darkness series for one reason or another, that's totally fine. You don't have to. You'll fully be able to understand what's going on, but there will be some things that you don't really realize are spoilers, but it's not going to ruin your reading experience. I have had some friends who read this book without reading Lady of Darkness first and they really enjoyed it. Erin from Booked and Busy, I think she read this book and the second book in the Legacy series, absolutely loved them, and then went back and read Lady of Darkness, and she had a great time with both series. Also, Katie from Katie's Book Nook, I know that she really loves this book. I believe she's also read the second one, really enjoyed them, has not read the Lady of Darkness series, and had a grand old time. So my long-winded answer is yes, you can. There are some connections, there are some like moments, whatever, but I think that they are vague and mysterious enough, and you're not gonna be like, what the hell are they talking about in this if you haven't read Lady of Darkness. I hope that makes sense, but the author says you can read this without reading Lady of Darkness, so that's really all that matters. If you want to pick this up, absolutely go for it. All right, friends, so that is going to be it for this week's reading vlog. Thank you so much for coming on this journey with me. What a time. We had a 3-star with Powerless, we had a 4-star with Reckless, so good, so glad I picked that up, and then the real star of the show, Reign of Shadows and Endings. Absolutely obsessed. If you guys pick this up, let me know what you think of it. I just think it's so special and unique, and I cannot wait to pick up book 2. If you made it to this point in the video, go ahead and leave like a rain emoji, like a rain cloud or something for Reign of Shadows and Endings. Please make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I love you all so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.